Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting Monday mail call. I'm your host, the Duckman. We're back today with a couple different things that we're going to open up here, and we're also going to talk about the current weather predicament, because a lot of people want to know what my stance is on the current hurricane that's headed up this way, or may not be headed up this way. A lot of uncertainty there. We're going to talk about that in this video. But first things first, let's open up what we got here. This I've already busted open. You guys might already know what that is if you're a Volkswagen guy. That's right. These are brand new push rods and push rod seals. Because when I opened up the engine, I opened up that proverbial can of worms exactly as I said I was going to. And they ended up with a bunch of damaged push rod tubes, or they had problems anyway. So once I tried to seal the engine back up, put it back together, what was there? No good. Even though I replaced all the little rubber gogies, it didn't seem to matter. I was still having just leaks everywhere around push rod tubes. So at this point, it was just a matter of replacing everything. Little bummer is they got dented during shipment. That kind of pisses me off a little bit. But anyway, these things will get painted up real nice and they'll be installed sometime this week on Eleanor's engine. Next up, we've got something here, and you might be familiar with Rock Hobby. Here they are. You might remember that Commanderwagen that we had a few weeks ago that we did a video contest on. Well, not to be outdone by other YouTubers that managed to have two of the cars at once in their videos, but I ended up with a second car to do a second video. My friends over at FMS Hobby have been really good to me and sent me a Kugelwagen to review for another video. It should be mostly identical in function, probably absolutely identical in function to the Commanderswagen that we had before, but being that it is a Kugelwagen, it's going to have a completely different body style. Well, this is neat. Wow. Okay, it's got the same kind of details on this thing that the Commanderswagen had. This is amazing. The door handles even work too. This might even have more features than the Commanderswagen did. Yeah, the doors actually have working handles on them, just the same. Like the back seat folds down, the little cargo area opens and closes, windshield hinges up just like Volkswagen Thing does. This was the predecessor to the Thing for those of you that are not familiar. In the back, of course, we got our engine in the engine compartment. Oh, come on, open up. There it is. Right in there with a moving fan belt. And I discovered that this motor that's in here, or I should say engine, actually has the electric motor built into it. So you can actually replace the entire thing as one solid unit. Looks like we got little tail lights that are, well, actually they're bolted on. These are not molded or cast into the body or just glued on. These are actually bolted on, just like they would have been on the original. Got our 5-lug, wide 5 lug, 5x205 millimeter wheels. What's it take to open the hood? That's it, just like that. And everything inside of there should be the same electronics that we had on the Commanderswagen Type 82E. This is a Type 82. Type 82s, I believe, were front-wheel drive only, but there were some exceptions. There were a limited number of four-wheel drive ones, and this one does have four-wheel drive on it. I can feel it. That, what you're hearing, is Tezzy. He managed to pull his collar off, and he sounds like a damn dinosaur without his collar. But this is the Commanderswagen. We will be doing a video on this coming up very shortly in the future. This is just incredibly detailed. I mean, this is really nice. If you thought the Commanderswagen was nice, the Kugelwagen is just more detailed with more moving parts. This is absolutely wow. Okay. All kinds of stuff comes apart on here. Okay, we'll be doing a review on this in the future. It looks like we got the same old remote control that we had before with all the same switches and functions. Should be pretty straightforward. No, we're not running a contest on this one. Who knows, maybe I'll feel like departing with mine. But we'll talk about that in the future when the video comes up. All right. Well, oh my. Yeah, he knocked his collar off. There's no doubt about that. Anyways, you guys, thanks for watching. Licky, likey, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to pluck that dingle belly so you get updates every time that I upload a video. Check out duckshit.net for all my different social media links. And we'll be back to talk about the weather coming up right after that intro. So thanks for watching. All right, well, we're back. We're going to talk about the weather today, and I've got a whiteboard set up behind me. This is actually just a piece of drywall. It's been out in the shed, started to get a little moldy, so I figured I might as well use it for something before I go and chuck it. I'm going to do my best to illustrate what Florida looks like here, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a geography lesson, and hopefully I'm doing this right. But I think Florida looks like this. Over here, there's a little reservoir. State goes down like this, and it comes over. And over here you got Pensacola, kind of comes out, we got a little bay in here, and we run down like this. This is Panama City, there's Pensacola, kind of comes up back like this, back out like that, like that, like that, and then down here comes the islands, past the Everglades, and then you have your Keys out the bottom. And then of course your Lake Okeechobee somewhere around there. No, it's not perfectly round, but I think you guys catch the drift. Over here in this area is Tallahassee. I-10 runs straight across, more or less, right over to Jacksonville. Over here you've got Tampa. There's Fort Myers, Naples. Over here is Miami, Key West. Trying to think of the other cities that are up through here. I mean, in the center you've got Ocala. Down here you've got Orlando. Right about here is Daytona. Earl is over here. I might be a little far north for Earl. He might be a little further south. But you guys catch the drift. This is Florida. Then down over here somewhere you got, and it's not quite that close, but I think it's shaped like that. You got Cuba. And then over here somewhere was Jamaica. Okay, the storm is currently sitting down over here. Now, I'm a terrible weatherman. I'm not predicting the weather. I'm actually just reporting to you what was told to me on the news, and I've actually been following this storm before it even was a storm, and before the news even started talking about it, because I watched those weather models. Because this storm stuff concerns me. As you saw 2 years ago, I lost my backyard. A whole bunch of my trees are gone. I have very, very little shade. Ruby got the crap beat out of her. My Volkswagen stuff was thrown all over the backyard. A lot of my computer parts that were in the shed were just completely damaged. All sorts of things are banged up. My bus got uncovered and flash rusted, and all the new parts that I had bought for it, which I since had to disassemble and bring in the house. It was just an absolute mess. So I stick to watching the weather reports rather frequently, and Pensacola seems to be a magnet for hurricanes. Figure while we're at it too. Over here is this is about where the Alabama-Georgia line is. This is Georgia, Alabama, and there's the nutsack over here, which is Mobile Bay, and then that pretty much goes straight up if I'm not mistaken. And over this way is Mississippi, and then over here is Louisiana, and then the Mississippi River kind of comes through here and out the Chicken Foot Delta, comes out the bottom of it. That gives you a little more to that. The hurricane is currently down here, okay? And it's going to spin out its thing. It's currently projected to go somewhere up this way. If it follows this path, it's going to be going through what they call the Big Bend area. Nobody lives here. This is wooded, it's swampy, it's not a popular place to go for anything other than camping. There's not a whole lot of people there. If it goes up this way, it'll probably do, I'm going to say, the least amount of damage. The trouble is, though, if you know anything about hurricanes, that hurricane has an eye wall. Eye walls are typically about 20 to 30 miles wide. They're not very big, they're small. So if I were to take that eye wall and run it through Pensacola, that's about how big it is. I mean, it's as big as the metropolitan area in Pensacola. But the trouble is the eye wall is not the most damaging part of the storm. The most damaging part of the storm is a ring around the storm that kind of goes out like this. So all this area through here is the worst part of the storm. Also, all through this little ringlet around that eye. Over here, nothing. I mean, not even clouds in the sky sometimes. You might catch a little stray feeder band comes into it as the thing shifts around, but for the most part, there's nothing on the west side of the storm. If this thing is projected to come up through here and go this way, Pensacola is going to be clear. It's going to be cool because, mind you, this thing is circulating this way, so all the air is going to be coming from the north. This thing is going to be drawing all that cold air down from the north, so it's going to get cooler here. It's also going to knock the clouds down. I mean, Pensacola Bay and Mobile Bay are probably going to drain out again because the wind is going to push the water out, and that's what happened a couple years ago when we had another storm, the one that went through Panama City. Which, by the way, when Michael went through Panama City as a Cat 5 storm, I did some work at Panama City at the time. There was hardly a tree standing anywhere, and any tree that was standing had no pine needles on it, had no trees. It looked like it was winter time. Everything was just gone, and I believe that happened in September. And just the place looked dead, completely dead. Roofs were pulled off of houses. I mean, things were just an absolute mess, and I was servicing some of the restaurants that were out there at that time. So to see that, it was just like, it was summer, and snap your fingers, it was winter the next day where everything's just dead, everything's gone. And it wasn't until the following spring that everything started to grow green again, and it was beautiful, and it was intensely beautiful. But of course, so many trees are gone, it really didn't matter anymore anyway. But what I'm getting at is the hurricane is coming up and over this way. If the storm is shaped like this, and that thing hits in here, this area is what's going to be affected. Dad's house used to be in Fort Myers. Tampa's gonna look pretty bad. Sorry, Wayne, I know you're over in this area. But this is what's gonna be hit pretty bad. The cone of uncertainty is pushing us through here, so it could go anywhere between here and here, even if it went up somewhere through Pensacola. If it goes just barely east of me, I'm gonna get nothing. So as far as my level of preparedness, well, I stocked up on food, you never know. I do have some gas for my generator just in case. Some people have messaged me recently and said, you've got to evacuate. This is a week away, guys. This is, I mean, I guess it could speed up, but this is a week away. I mean, from the time that I'm recording this video, I have an entire week to prepare. And if I were to evacuate right now, like so many people are suggesting, where am I gonna go? I guess I could go this way, but what if the storm turns that way? And it can. It certainly can. There's a high pressure system over here, and if it pushes down this way, the storm could go that way. That's not good. Because if it goes that way, then I get hit with all this crap. So if it's over here, then all that crap goes through here. So all the worst stuff will be in Pensacola. Where it's going right now is probably one of the best paths that it could possibly take if it's going to be hitting Florida. It might be a little better if it went a little bit more just outside of Tallahassee, because all this crap would hit a lot less of the bigger, more organized places. But as far as I'm concerned, for me, that's about as safe as it gets. If it continues off that way, I'm going to see little to nothing. And that's a good thing. I'm tired of hurricane crap. We get a good one about once every 15 years. 15 years ago, though, we got, I think it was 5 in a one-year period. One in 2004, which is Ivan, that just completely flattened Pensacola. The following year, we get hit with Arlene, Cindy, Dennis, and you guys probably remember Katrina. Katrina was all the way over here, but again, it hit here, and what'd it do? It pushed all out to here, and Pensacola got whacked pretty hard on that one, too. Contrary to what you might be thinking, you know, Louisiana, and New Orleans particularly, was just devastated, but Pensacola took a pretty hard hit on that one also. If the storm had gone off this way, like Cindy did, we'll get little to nothing. Dennis took a path up through here. The eye wall actually was just to the east of Pensacola. Pensacola took a beating, but because we were so close to the eye wall, it was just this little area of high winds. And I think it was a Cat 3, so we got belted pretty good, but because it was so small, and once it hit the land, it got off on a running start, I think at 35 miles an hour or something. So, I mean, it got real windy for about 90 minutes and it stopped. It was over. It was just, that was it. 2 years ago, almost to the day, we had Hurricane Sally. Sally came up and over this way. So Sally, again, eye wall passed right through Pensacola. It didn't quite pass over my house. It passed just barely to the north of here, about a mile or two. But what that did is it caused the wind to shift. When you're on the one side of the storm, the wind blows one way, and then when you pass through the eye wall, then the wind blows the other way. So anything that wind had loosened up, now the wind gets underneath it and just throws it. So that's what happened. That's why I lost my backyard. Everything actually wasn't too bad, but everything was kind of blown over this way, and then when the winds changed direction, pushed everything back out the other side. Put my tents up in trees. I mean, just obliterated my backyard, and things were just a complete disaster over here. But again, I'm not too concerned about this one. At least not unless they start reporting that it's going to start making a shift this way. Or worse yet for me, if it starts going towards Louisiana. Sorry, New Orleans, but Pensacola's going to take a pretty good hit. Earl, you're probably going to get wet on this one too if it follows this path. I mean, it's going to be going right over here. My friend Makisha is over in Daytona. Probably going to take a pretty good hit. Gary, VW Jawbreaker, he's somewhere in here, in between. I forget the name of the city. I don't want to give away his location. I don't think he wants me to. But he's somewhere in between. He's probably going to get a little bit of wind, get a little wet. But I don't think it's going to be too awfully serious for them. But if you ever experienced a hurricane before, it's waves of storms. It's just like getting a severe rainstorm, like thunderstorm in the afternoon, and then it disappears. And then it'll be breezy in between. So usually it's a little cooler. The temperature kind of drops a little bit, but the humidity's way up. But it'll just come in belts and waves. Yeah, and you can't time them. Sometimes it's just random. And Arlene, as I was mentioning, was exactly one of those storms where the bands just kept coming in, but because the thing was spinning, it kept spinning the bands away from us. So even though Pensacola took a direct eye hit and it wasn't too awfully strong and it fell apart once it hit the land, the fact is it spun the pieces all around me. It kept missing me. I kept getting in the little keyhole. It missed, and it was a good thing. It was really a good thing. Arlene turned out to be a very weak storm, even though a lot of people were freaked out about it, including the ducks. Poor babies. The next morning when the storm was starting to whip up, I had a tent built for them out in the pen that they had in the yard, and it just shredded the top of it, and they were all wadded up in the corner while the top of it was blowing around. They were just terrified of this tent that was moving because it's not something they would normally see. Those poor babies. Anyways, yeah, I'm not too concerned about this one unless something changed direction. By the time you guys see this, maybe the news will have updated. But right now they're starting to push it more and more to the east. The more east it pushes, the safer I'm going to be. Anyway, I hope that answers you guys' questions, and I hope that eliminates some of your concerns for me. If you do have any friends that are over in the peninsula area, particularly around Tallahassee through the Big Bend, those are the ones you probably want to make sure are safe. You know, all the way down to Tampa. Fort Myers will probably be okay, but somewhere in here, they're going to get hit pretty hard. So hopefully the storm won't be too serious. They're starting to downgrade it. They're starting to say it's going to be like a Cat 4 right about here, then it's going to go to a 2 and into a 1. Category 2 and 1 storms really aren't too awfully bad. I mean, still it's scary, but the winds are not sustained at 100 miles an hour like they say. They might be towards the eye wall. But when you're on the outside of it, those winds are not continuous. So it'll be a gust and it stops. It'll be a gust and then it stops. It'll be a couple long gusts and it stops. You know, it's not like just a constant. It's not like that. It really isn't. I've been through a lot of these over the last almost 30 years, and they've all pretty much panned out the same. The good thing is I've never been. What's the best way to put it? I've never been hit by one directly. Even though, yeah, that one Sally that hit 2 years ago was direct. The fact is, I was driving back through Tallahassee. Nice arrow. I was driving back through Tallahassee, and when the storm came up this way, I did get one hell of a beating on the interstate over here. I actually had to pull over, and I freaked out a little bit because I didn't know if my house was still going to be there, because just how bad it was on the road and being that far to the west, I knew it was going to be worse over here. But when I got home, yeah, the storm had just pretty much stopped, and it was only like, 2-hour drive, and so much of it just disappeared because it went right up into the other states. Well, I might be rambling a little bit. I mean, this is all just freedom of thought. So I hope, again, it explains everything. Likey, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to pluck the dingle belly, and we'll be back, hopefully, with videos this week. It's probably going to rain, at least that's what the forecast says. If the storm does what it's going to, we're probably not going to see much for rain. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.